Iron Maiden has now played the first two shows of their new Run for Your Lives tour in Budapest. And just like that, all the questions have now been answered. We've seen the set list, we know what the stage looks like, we've heard the performances, and we know how the band sounds with Simon Dawson on drums. So now we can have a proper discussion about all of that stuff, and I'm also going to try to help you make sense of all of the online chatter because I'm noticing that there's a lot of reactivity and quite a bit of criticism floating around, and as is often the case, it's a mishmash of fair critique and a little bit of nonsense. Starting off with broad strokes, I will say that the band sounds and looks unbelievable. The first thing I noticed on that first night is that even though it was opening night and they have a new drummer up there with them, they're looking a little more relaxed this time around, and they seem to be having a great time on stage. I'm sure that a lot of that is due to the fact that this is a considerably less demanding set list, mostly made up of shorter songs with less complex arrangements. Last tour was absolutely incredible on so many levels, and I think it was by far the most challenging set they've ever played. This one still has some intense moments, but generally speaking, it's a fun set, and they've really picked a great selection of songs to celebrate their 50th anniversary. If this is your first time here, welcome to Licks of the Beast. My name is Nico, and this is a place where I like to talk about guitars and heavy metal. Guitar playthroughs, tutorials, breakdowns of your favorite songs and guitar solos, concert reviews, gear talk, and a whole lot more. I hope you'll stick around and become a part of this growing community of awesome people. Okay, so let's talk about that set list. Opening with Murders in the Rue Morgue. Talk about old school. Wrathchild, Killers, Phantom of the Opera, The Number of the Beast, The Clairvoyant, Power Slave, 2 Minutes to Midnight, Rime of the Ancient Mariner. How awesome was that? Run to the Hills, of course, it's again the name of the tour pretty much. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Now that blew my mind because, I kind of expected Rime of the Ancient Mariner or Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, but both on the same set, that's just crazy. The Trooper, Hallowed Be Thy Name, Iron Maiden, and then for the encores we had Aces High, Fear of the Dark, and Wasted Years. Realistically, the set seems very strong. There's something for everyone, and it's a great mix of bangers and epics, so the show has an excellent flow, and it's really well paced from start to finish. Of course, I'll have a much better idea about all of that once I'm there live among the crowd, where I can feel what the vibe and the energy are like from start to finish. The highlights for me so far are Killers, Phantom of the Opera, Seventh Son, and Rime. But the one thing that struck me as odd is that they didn't include a single song from No Prayer for the Dying. Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter was their first #1 single ever, so I thought they'd want to include that. I would have preferred it to Wasted Years again, especially since they just used it as a closer on the last tour. But I do understand that on an anniversary tour, it's not really a song that they can exclude, so it is what it is. Obviously, it's an awesome song, and it's very meaningful to just about everyone in the audience, so I probably shouldn't complain. And I don't love Aces High in the encores. That's really an opening song, and I don't think it was absolutely necessary to play that one again. There are other great songs they could have played instead, like Be Quick or Be Dead, or if you wanted to talk about Warplanes so badly, why not Tail Gunner? I've been seeing a lot of the comments online, and I've received multiple messages expressing a little disappointment with Maiden playing it a little too safe with the choice of songs. Especially because earlier this year, Bruce had said something about doing stuff they'd never done before. Because it got many people, and including myself, thinking that they'd do something really out of left field, like Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner or Flash of the Blade. But I guess as fans, we do have to be careful to not read into things too much. Because he was probably referring to the whole show with the giant screens illustrating parts of the songs. I looked up that quote again, and yeah, he clearly said doing stuff we've never ever done before, not playing songs we've never played before. And those are two completely different statements when you take them in their proper context. So as a longtime fan, I completely understand the frustration of those of you who found the second half of the set to be a bit disappointing. But I'd invite you to consider these 2 points. Maiden can go on these massive world tours and take their awesome stage show to so many cities in large arena because they can sell out to large audiences. And the bulk of those audiences is made up of casual fans and first-timers. Now, those people want to hear Run to the Hills, Trooper, Number of the Beast, Fear of the Dark, and Wasted Years. Us more hardcore fans, well, we get Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, Killers, Murders in the Rue Morgue, and Phantom of the Opera. And those are all great songs to witness live, and I think we're exceptionally fortunate that at this point in the band's career, we could still enjoy these awesome performances. So let's not look a gift horse in the mouth. The second point I'd like you to consider is that a big part of that hits fatigue that some of us have goes far beyond the band's control. Yes, they're playing these songs on the tours, but for most people, that means that they hear them played once every few years, if they're lucky. But if you follow Iron Maiden a bit more and you follow the fan pages online, you get a ton of shared videos on all the platforms, bands, singers, and musicians playing their cover versions, you get reaction videos, and every new tour you watch a bunch of videos of the shows right here on YouTube. Iron Maiden themselves have nothing to do with any of that. Still, I will agree that 2 or 3 of those songs could have been swapped for something a little different. Ideally something like Bruce may or may not have suggested they've never played before. So what did you all think about the stage show? Honestly, for me, it was exactly what I was expecting, and even though I prefer the look of real physical stage production, the giant screen does allow them to tell a much bigger story to bring each song to life like never before. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son and Hallowed Be Thy Name looked really awesome. Those visuals were just absolutely breathtaking, and I can't wait to see them live in a few weeks. My first reaction to the giant Eddie behind the drums on Iron Maiden was like,
what the fuck is this piece of shit?
But then I saw a good quality video of it, and I have to admit, it looks a lot better than most of the mechanical ones, and definitely more menacing than the inflatables. So it's pretty cool that they're finding new ways to bring their iconic lore to life. I'm gonna get to Simon Dawson in just a minute, but first, let's talk guitar stuff. Seeing Adrian playing his 2 Lado Earths after all these years had me so excited because that's the guitar that changed everything for me. Seeing Adrian play it on the Live After Death home video had me glued to the TV the first time I saw it, and that's what made me a lifelong Maiden fan and a fan of Adrian's playing. It also became my dream guitar, and I still can't believe that I finally got one of my own last year. Now, the fact that Adrian is playing them for such a big chunk of the show is a true testament to how good they are. And it also goes to show just how much of an impact they have, because Adrian certainly knows how to look cool on stage. And as someone who loves Lado guitars, I own 3 of them so far, 4 if I'm counting the bass, which I will show you in a future video, and who has tremendous respect for Joe Lado, I'm so glad to know that Adrian is now exposing a new generation of players to these wonderful instruments. From the video clips I've seen, I gotta say the 3 guitars are sounding really good. Now, of course, it's nearly impossible to get the full picture from videos shot with a cell phone in the middle of a loud audience, but you can get an idea based on various cues if you have an understanding of what you're listening to. And my impression is that the guitars are sounding full and with good clarity and definition. I thought Adrian's lead tone seemed particularly good, especially when he hits the wah pedal like on Killers. That solo gave me goosebumps. It's very Schenker-esque and it just sounds really badass overall. As for standout solos, I really liked Janick's lead on Phantom of the Opera and Hallowed Be Thy Name. He isn't playing very many solos this time around, is he? Adrian seems to be at the top of his game overall. Killers and Seventh Son were especially cool, and Dave was just on fire on Wrathchild, Power Slave, and Hallowed Be Thy Name. Bruce continues to sound unbelievably good. I was particularly impressed with Seventh Son. That's a tough one, and he absolutely nailed it. Now, this set might be a little bit easier for the instruments, but for the vocals, it's a pretty tough one to pull off. And still, Bruce continues to hit the higher notes much more consistently and with more ease than ever before. I just hope that he can sustain it for the duration of the tour, and he seems to be off to a great start, so I'm pretty sure he'll do just fine. Okay, now let's talk about Simon Dawson, the new drummer. I think he did a great job overall, but let's put this into perspective. The guy stepped in for the most beloved member of the band, one of the most iconic, respected, influential, and charismatic drummers in all of heavy metal, who was forced to retire from touring at the end of a 2-year tour, which he embarked on a mere few months after having a stroke that paralyzed half his body. So yeah, I'm sure he thinks he's going to be welcomed with open arms, so there's no pressure at all on his first time out with the band. Look, Simon is a very experienced drummer, but stepping into Iron Maiden, especially on a massive arena tour, is no small thing. These first shows are going to be very intense for him. He's not just playing drums, he's carrying the weight of decades of legacy under the microscope of hardcore fans, media, and the inevitable social media commentary that he's well aware of, all while trying to be perfect right out of the gate. That kind of pressure can shake anyone, no matter how seasoned they are. And arenas are a whole different world. The sound is louder, more chaotic, and you're dealing with in-ears, massive lights, pyro, 50,000 screaming fans. It's not like playing in a studio or even a medium-sized venue. It's a full-on sensory assault. And on top of that, you're trying to connect with a crowd that's halfway across the building. It takes time to get into tour shape, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Doesn't matter how much time you've had to prepare or how many rehearsals. He's gonna need a few shows to settle in, to feel the stage, the band, the crowd, right? From a technical standpoint, he's obviously very skilled, although he's definitely more of a solid rock drummer, whereas Nico has that jazzy, free-flowing style, which is so unique and really impossible to truly replicate with the same feel and the same flow. And he's not really that much like Clive either, because Clive had a very straightforward, no-frills style with a very aggressive drive and a snap that you don't really get from most rock or metal drummers. So Simon is doing the right thing by playing the songs close enough to the original without trying to change his own playing style. Of course, it wasn't perfect. He made some mistakes and missed a few things, which, as we've discussed recently, is perfectly normal when playing live. But he played a very tight set overall, and considering everything I just said, I think he did an excellent job. His performance on Rime of the Ancient Mariner was especially impressive. Alright, so I think I'll end this here for now, as I don't really feel that there's more I can say without having experienced the show live. And of course, these are my first impressions based on having seen a few videos of the one and a little bit of today's show on YouTube and Instagram. But I'll give you an update after I get back from Europe. I'll be seeing Iron Maiden in Sweden on June 12th, then Judas Priest in Norway on the 14th, and then I'll be in Italy for the next 10 days just relaxing and enjoying some downtime with family, friends, and food. There's going to be so much food. So let's keep the discussion going. Leave your thoughts and questions in the comments. And as always, thank you all so much for watching, and stay tuned for more licks of the beast. Cheers.